We've got an amazing lineup for you today. We've got questions on the Byzantine Rite, Anglican Ordinariate. We've got Catholic moms hating on Lenten decorations. And what has Charles been hiding from us about the Vatican secret archives? Welcome to another episode of Off the Menu, now being broadcast and podcast on the Crusade Channel, talk radio the way it should be at crusadechannel.com. I'm Vincent Franchini from Tumblr House, here with a Septuagesimal Charles Coulombe.
Septuagesimal? You mean redolent of the season of Septuagesima? Of Mardi Gras? Of Carnival?
Oh, yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. You mean the last gasp of frivolity and fun before Lent? Is that what we're talking?
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Coming down out of Christmas and sliding into Mardi Gras? Is that it?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm behind that, 100%. Plus, today, you'll be excited to know, today is a very special day, being in real time, the 4th of February.
Okay, what day is that?
Well, of course, it's St. Andrew Corsini, St. Jean de Valois, and a lot of other saints today, St. Gilbert of Sempringham. But it is the United Nations International Day of Human Solidarity.
Wow.
Yes, this is a day for human beings all over this great planet of ours to join together as one family in building a culture of peace.
I say wow because I'm so embarrassed that I forgot about it.
Where... Aren't we all?
Where's your United Nations pin, Charles? You're so reliable with the pin. We're missing the pin.
You know what? You're right. Right. Hold on.
Okay.
Don't go
there we
anywhere.
Go. There we go.
I'll be right back.
All right.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you get to witness this in the comfort of your own home. My UN, see it?
Yeah. It's still, yeah.
Oh, see?
Hold it back a little. Wait, hold up. Your camera's tripping out. There we go. A little bit back. So, okay. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm going to put on my UN lapel pin. Purchased, I'll have you know, at the UN gift shop in New York City.
Wow.
Just before going into the meditation room and staring at the block of granite, which Dag Hammarskjöld got there. Well, now I feel this rush of solidarity with all the peoples of the world across this great planet of ours.
Yeah, feels great.
It does, doesn't it? It feels all, I don't know, sort of early 60s. Like 1962. I feel like trick-or-treating for UNICEF and listening to Telstar. Dee da 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 dee 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 dee. And thinking of the Mercury and Gemini projects at NASA and the World's Fair in '63, and all of these things are coming together in me for a marvelous kind of hopefulness for the future. With a man like Kennedy in the White House, with Jackie at his side, I mean, what's not to like? The Beach Boys are playing their music. Be true to your school, just like you would to your girl. Be true to your school now. Let your colors fly. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. It's my little deuce coupe. You don't know what I got. There's a moon out tonight. Hushaby, hushaby. Hushaby, hushaby. Oh, my darling, don't you cry. Guardian angels up above. Take me to the one I love. Yes, the early 60s. This is what I'm talking about. When I was literally a babe in arms. What? You're just staring off in the distance like I've gone crazy.
A little bit, yeah.
Well, don't do that. Get into the spirit of the thing. Doesn't the sign of the United Nations fill you with hope for a better tomorrow?
Sure.
A tomorrow that all of us can share. Oh, that shows once more with feeling. I mean, we are talking.
I was actually the inspiration for that was actually Bill Murray and Ed Wood.
Yeah, well, okay, sure. Well, you see, and the sad thing is, by the early '60s, Ed Wood and the gang had kind of passed their prime.
Yeah.
You know, shot the bolt, as it were.
Yeah.
Which is a sad, sad story. Poor Ed Wood. Not all Hollywood stories turn out happily, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry to tell you this. But would you believe that Brian Wilson is still going strong at 80 something?
The lead singer of the Beach Boys?
Yep.
Wow.
He's got a Letterman's jacket that he got in for football and track. Uh-huh. And when he drives in other parts of town, he's got a decal on back. It's true. It's true. And Friday night, he's going to be doing football, and his girlfriend's going to be hitting the pom-poms. Rah, rah, sis, boom, bah.
Okay. You're a little suspect right now. You're a little suspect. I feel like you're diving into some sort of esoteric Beach Boy song and slipping in some lyrics unbeknownst to me.
Oh, God only knows where I'd be without you.
Okay, that was not.
Look, I'm not boasting now, so don't put me down. But I've got the hottest set of wheels in town.
Oh, I mean, just
it's my little new scoop. You don't know what I've got.
Oh, just help me, Rhonda. Help me, Rhonda.
Well, help you get her out of your head. Well, all right, fine. You know, everybody's saying that there's nobody meaner than a little old lady from Argentina. That's Jan and Dean. That's not fair.
All right.
What would you think of going to a concert in 1963? The two bands performing, the Beach Boys and Jan and Dean, and Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello are sitting up front.
I don't even know who Jan and Dean are.
You don't remember Jan and Dean?
Frankie Avalon, is that the singer of the Four Seasons? No, that's not.
No, that was Frankie Valli.
Oh, Frankie
Valli. Avalon, he did sing Venus in blue jeans, Mona Lisa with a ponytail. But he also was in all the surfing films with Annette Funicello, like Ride the Wild Surf and How to Stuff a Wild Bikini and Beach Blanket Bingo and Beach Party and things like that. Although not Dr. Goldfoot of the Bikini Machine. I don't think he was in that. I could be wrong. I'd have to look it up. They were all the surf genre. You know, you had the movies, you had the Beach Boys, you had Jan and Dean doing things like Surfing Safari, and, well, one of my personal favorites and a very much a local LA thing from before we came out to the big nowhere, Dead Man's Curve, which was an ode to a part of Sunset Boulevard. That, well, it like this.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people ended up dead there. Let me see. The Dead Man's Curve, I found myself singing it one night when I was with my brother and his three best friends. Two of them were now deceased. But Jan and Dean were the guys that made it popular. And yeah, I was cruising in my Stingray late one night when an XKE pulled up on the right and rolled down the window of his shiny new Jag and challenged me then and there to a drag. I said, "You're on, buddy. My mill's running fine. Let's come off the line now at Sunset and Vine. But I'll throw you one better if you've got the nerve. Let's race all the way to Dead Man's Curve. Dead Man's Curve, it's no place to play. Dead Man's Curve, you best keep away. Dead Man's Curve, I can hear him say, won't come back from Dead Man's Curve." The street was deserted late Friday night. We were bugging each other while we sat out the light. We both popped the clutch when the light turned green. You should have heard the whine from my screaming machine. I flew past La Brea, Schwab's, and Crescent Heights, and all the Jag could see were my 6 taillights. He passed me at Doheny. Then I started to swerve, but I pulled her out, and there I was at Dead Man's Curve. Dead Man's Curve, it's no place to play, Dead Man's Curve. And then he goes into a recitative where he says, "Well, the last thing I remember, Doc, I started to swerve. And then I saw the Jag slide into the curve. I know I'll never forget that horrible sight. I guess I found it for myself that everyone was right. Won't come back from Dead Man's Curve. Dead Man's Curve." You were not impressed by that?
No, I'm while I'm enjoying your singing, I was also researching sort of the location and the look of Dead Man's Curve on Sunset Boulevard, I guess. I guess there are apparently several Dead Man's Curves across the nation, but
this was on Sunset. I think they've actually straightened it out since then, so it's not quite the horror it was.
Yeah, I think that's what they're saying.
But you know what's funny? We have a friend in common. In fact, the legend has it the man who inspired the character of Roderick Roundhead in the Father Baptist series.
Yes.
And said individual during the 60s was around then. I mean, that's his era, the early 60s. You know, he was a Jan and Dean surfer type. And I have to tell you that one of the most amusing experiences of my life was driving with him. He's still a fast driver even today. He says he always insists on driving if we're going anywhere because he says I drive like an old woman. But we were flying down Sunset Boulevard in his Jag, and he was playing very loud Dead Man's Curve. And I felt like I'd gone back to his past, which is beyond my past.
Wow.
And since you know the man in question, you can imagine what an odd thing that was.
Yeah, well, to me, he's very quiet, very devout, very humble, and a holy man. So I can't even imagine what you're saying.
Well, this was about 12 years ago, so
Wow. Okay.
But it was quite an experience. I mean, knowing that was his era, and he was really getting into it. And he drives like a absolute
maniac.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't have said that, except he does drive like a maniac, very, very fast. Of course, he says I drive like an old woman, so the truth is probably somewhere in between.
That's funny. I'm going to take this opportunity to do a gratuitous plug so the reference that Charles made, Roderick Roundhead, he's one of these epic characters in the Father Baptist series by William L. Biersack. Sort of the fiction books that we published, sort of the why Tumbler House exists in the first place, was to publish these books. But Roderick Roundhead is a figure, basically, where he's sort of this super rich, behind-the-scenes puppet master of the traditionalist world, because it's like these people, they're sort of, when you have that much money, you just kind of have to hide, and you're traditionalist, you kind of have to hide, right? You kind of have to not be seen, but you're still making moves. You know what I mean? So that's
true.
That's what the Roderick Roundhead figure. Pretty cool guy.
And of course, he is the heir to the Roundhead manhole cover fortune.
Yes.
Remember the Hotel Adirondack, the house that manhole covers built. That's the location of one of the books, ladies and gentlemen. The Fabulous Hotel Adirondack.
Yes. All
You
right.
wouldn't want to miss out on that, would you?
No, absolutely not. So, if you get the first 2 books, you're going to get free shipping and handling, because in our bookstore, free shipping on orders over $30. Can you believe that, Charles?
And if you got 2 of them, and but wait, there's more. Get 3 of them, and you'll save even more money.
The more you spend, the more you save at TumblerHouse.com.
Exactly.
There we go.
That's the best reasoning I've heard all year.
That felt good.
Operators are standing by, ladies and gentlemen.
Limited time offer.
You too could be sorry, no CEDs.
CODs and void were prohibited.
No assembly required.
Some assembly required.
Anyway.
You're butchering like everything. Wow, we're really rusty on this. Okay.
We've got to do our sales pitches more. But I will say, ladies and gentlemen, that something else is coming up, I think, this week. And you know what that is?
No, I don't know what that is, actually.
How soon we forget. It's Lincoln's birthday.
I thought he got
February
canceled.
12th. No, why? Because he was a slave owner?
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't need to be that extreme nowadays, does it? You could he got canceled because he lives in the 19th century and abided by things.
You live in the 19th century, cancel him. Obviously, the only people worth paying attention to are the woke who live now. Even dead woke. Like if you had the head of the Sierra Club pop over like now, canceled as soon as his corpse hits the floor. Part of the ruling class, ship him out. They burn his body and scatter the ashes at the crossroads. Actually, though, that really does. I have to admit, a couple of years ago, when the morons were really going after everybody's founders, I mean, the morons of their own groups, like the Sierra Club, like the what's the other bunch? The Sierra Club, not the Audubon Society, the other one. I can't think of it. Anyway, it was another one of these natural groups. They were attacking their founder as a racist and this and that. You know what? Quit the group.
Yeah.
Or abolish it and give the assets to the deserving poor. Or blow your brains out. There's always that possibility too.
Whoa.
What?
Let's dial it down. Dial it down.
Well, no, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I don't want to get in the way. Look, if someone advocates euthanasia for others, he should be willing to do it himself. Don't you think?
That's true.
Yeah. No, but seriously, what is the Sierra Club, the Audubon Society? What is the third one? The Wilderness Society, is it?
John Muir Society or something? I don't know.
John Muir founded something. John Muir was one of the guys who was getting canceled.
Really? I thought he started it all. I thought he started the whole California wilderness thing.
He did indeed, and but he's been attacked for racism. Hold on, you'd be amazed at who's getting it. Okay, John Muir, evil racist. Let's see. Blah 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 blah.
This is going way too.
Yeah, here we go. In 2020, in the light of the movement to remove Confederate monuments across the country, Michael Brune, the executive director of the Sierra Club, wrote a controversial editorial accusing Muir of racist thoughts and announced that the club would shift toward investing in racial justice work and determine which of its monuments need to be renamed or removed. I think Michael Brune needs to be removed. Oh, Aaron Mayer, who in 2015 became the first Black president of the Sierra Club board, stated the contents and framing of Muir and Brune's post, quote, are a misrepresentation. Mayer went on to state that Michael Brune, quote, did not consult him or the other two Black board members before pushing ahead on what he called a revisionist and ahistorical account of Muir's writings and thoughts in life. You know, bloody typical, these white morons. Just stupid, stupid people. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being a moron. People make choices in life, and I respect and honor those choices.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I feel like that whole movement is sort of imploding. I had sent you that link to that Bill Maher monologue where he's like destroying it, where stuff where like the American Medical Association he was criticizing, where they're not even putting the sex on the birth certificate anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, this is science, right? And you guys are saying like science is you're following science.
Yeah, we're canceling science. We're canceling. No, we don't do that anymore. We're just stupid. So let me see. Louis Agassiz, the great naturalist. Accusations of racism against Agassiz have prompted the renaming of landmark schoolhouses and other institutions which abound in Massachusetts that bear his name. Opinions about those moves are often mixed, given his extensive scientific legacy in other areas and uncertainty about his actual racial beliefs. We don't know what he said. We don't know, but we're going to do it anyway. Let's see. William Hornaday. There's another one.
Just that sentence is so try-hard. Uncertainty about his racial beliefs.
We don't know what they were, so we should cancel him.
I
mean, okay. Let's see. William Hornaday. Racism at the zoo. Okay. He was the director. So Hornaday was attacked. Despite everything he did, Hornaday has been attacked as a racist. Oh, I can see why. He wrote a book called The Lying Lure of Bolshevism. Well, that'd be enough to do him in, wouldn't it? I mean, I can't look at it anymore.
I like that your blood's up, though. That's a good, it's like some calisthenics, right, for the rest of the show. So,
I guess so.
So let's take it up a notch, right? Let's take this workout up a notch. So I don't really, I don't really watch the news, but I get like the headlines, but I just still also don't dive into it. So I'm going to go to you for a news headline that everyone's talking about. Kind of a fun one. Tell me about the Chinese spy balloon. What's going on there?
I don't know anything about it except that it exists. The Chinese spy balloon.
It just seems so absurd that I actually didn't even believe it. Like, there's this balloon that's floating over the United States that's like labeled like Chinese spy balloon that nobody can do anything about it. And like,
well, no,
somebody get a rifle or something.
We've shipped all our weapons to Ukraine.
I mean,
we don't have anything.
I mean, it's just so satirical but this is our reality. Like, well, yeah, they've got this balloon. They're collecting all this intelligence, and it's just floating over the United States. We're just letting it do its thing.
Well, as you say, I mean, you would think that they'd be able to shoot it down, but I guess, right now the Air Force is busy pushing for gay rights, and I think they're too busy right now. They're too.
I tell you what. If they flew that balloon over Texas, that thing's getting shot down. That thing.
Well, it's headed in the southeasterly direction, so it's going to go into Dixie. And I don't
Yeah.
think it'll survive the Confederacy.
I saw on Twitter, I think it might have gotten shot down. It was over Myrtle Beach. I don't know if they're waiting for it to go over the
Oh,
ocean for some reason or something. I don't know.
Myrtle Beach, the redneck Riviera.
Oh, well, maybe
That
that's it.
boy's gonna shoot that sucker down. That boy's gonna shoot that sucker down. Boom.
Oh,
From
man.
China with love. Actually, there's more to China with love. Y'all be listening in? Bam! Take that. Hope you can hear it.
But, news, the headlines sometimes are so crazy. I mean, I see Chinese spy balloon and I actually didn't even, I thought it was like a hoax or a joke or a meme or something. But then I came and I talked to my mom, and my mom is all worked up over it. So that's the only reason why how I discovered it was a real actual thing. Like,
honestly, I only found out about it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And
So
the fact that I'm getting my news about garbage from Twitter doesn't speak well for me. But at the same time, something down to earth has been happening. While the military are unable to shoot down the spy balloon, they are pulling the Confederate monument out of Arlington National Cemetery.
Oh, good.
So you see, they are capable of doing something. Isn't that nice? And given Lincoln's views on national reconciliation, it's horrific they're doing this around his birthday. It really is.
We are now being broadcast and podcast on the Crusade Channel, talk radio the way it should be at crusadechannel.com.
Speaking of which, though, if you are in Southern California, and you're anywhere near Redlands, which you're not at the moment, but if you were, there is a shrine to Lincoln in Redlands.
Okay, cool. All right. I'm there from time to time.
With a library and
a
museum. Well, visit the Lincoln Shrine in beautiful Redlands, California.
All right.
Also the Tartan Room.
Yeah, they have a great
bar
university.
So you go to the.
Yeah.
But you could hit the Tartan Room for refreshments, and then stagger over to the shrine. Or the project has been put on hold. It should be inspiring. St. Joseph's Shrine in Detroit, Michigan. You know how Detroit is. A lot of the houses have been knocked down, and you've got huge stretches of empty land where people once lived. So apparently the project's been abandoned, but we were asked some time ago about the possibility of recolonizing by Catholic families of urban areas. Well, they were going to build a village around St. Joseph's Shrine in Detroit. But apparently that project's been put indefinitely on hold. However, it is something to think about if you live or you're connected to a parish in a somewhat devastated urban landscape. You might consider the idea of bringing in colonists from outside and building a sort of local village.
Wow.
You can buy property in Detroit for real cheap.
That's a perfect segue. We hadn't discussed this in our prep, but I was reading The Great Good Place by Ray Oldenburg. It's such a good book. Yeah, it's one of those books where you're reading through it and you're screaming yes. And it's really good. I just started it. But I had that thought because he's talking about the way civic life is structured, honestly. And I had these thoughts. I was like, can't we restructure it? But I want to read some quotes to you guys. So thank you, whoever submitted a question on this book. Just really got me diving down the rabbit hole in this one. All right, so I'm going to read a couple passages. I think everyone's going to really enjoy it. Like all residential city blocks, observed one student of the American condition, the suburb is, quote, merely a base from which the individual reaches out to the scattered components of social existence, end quote. Though proclaimed as offering the best of both rural and urban life, the automobile suburb had the effect of fragmenting the individual's world. As one observer wrote, quote, "A man works in one place, sleeps in another, shops somewhere else, finds pleasure or companionship where he can, and cares about none of those places." End quote. The typical suburban home is easy to leave behind as its occupants move to another. What people cherish most in them can be taken along in the move. There are no sad farewells at the local taverns or the corner store because there are no local taverns or corner stores. Indeed, there is often more encouragement to leave a given subdivision than to stay in it, for neither the homes nor the neighborhoods are equipped to see families or individuals through the cycle of life. Each is designed for families of particular sizes, incomes, and ages. There's little sense of place and even less opportunity to put down roots. Wow. So, I mean, to me, I never thought.
Very true.
I mean, obviously, it's unsatisfying on some level. He kind of goes into the suburbs a little bit more, where sort of. Let's see here. I'm going to read another one. Dolores Hayden supplies a part of the answer when she observes that Americans have substituted the vision of the ideal home for that of the ideal city. Isn't that interesting? The purchase of the even larger home on the even larger lot in the even more lifeless neighborhood is not so much a matter of joining community as retreating from it. Encouraged by a continuing decline in the civilities and amenities of the public or shared environment, people invest more hopes in their private acreage. They proceed as though a house can substitute for a community if only it is spacious enough, entertaining enough, comfortable enough, splendid enough, and suitably isolated from that common horde that politicians still refer to as, quote, our fellow Americans.
Yeah.
Isn't that so interesting, though? Like, I don't know. He's talking about phenomenons and framing them in such a way which I feel is true and never even have thought about it in that way before. What do you think about that, Charles, that we've substituted the chasing after the ideal city for the ideal home? I feel like there's something to that, right?
I think there's a lot of truth to it. I mean, certainly, well, I mean, look, notice how in just taking suburbs, we'll take Arcadia and Monrovia. You notice how both the town fathers of both do their best to try to lure people out with parades and things. It's not really that organic. People don't come out naturally. They've got to be lured out.
Then that's what he talks about, right?
Yeah. And mind you, to be fair, those two towns do a good job of luring people out.
Yeah.
When you consider the different festivals they have and the parades and all that stuff, they do a fairly good job. But once upon a time, those things happened organically and were not done by the city or the Chamber of Commerce. They were done by locals just doing them. Now, granted, they'd probably have to get licenses and permits at a fee. But the initiative didn't come from City Hall or the Chamber of Commerce. The initiative came from people getting together, but people don't get together in places like that.
Well, he goes on to talk. I mean, he makes great points how, even if you wanted to be actively social on your block with your neighbors, that's hard, right? And it diminishes with distance, I mean, and as he says, what are the odds that you're going to share the common interest with the guy next to you, your right or to your left on the block? It's not very good. You're probably going to have
No.
to maybe find one maybe 10 doors down or something like that, right? But then what are the chances of that happening? And then he
They're
kind
not
of
that big.
yeah.
They're not that big, and the whole thing about the block party that used to be such a big part of American life. I mean, you still have them in some places, but they're few and far between.
Yeah.
Because to have a block party, you've got to have a street where everybody knows each other.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say about this is, unfortunately, the author has a very Eurocentric vision, it seems. No, but he no, sorry, I had to throw that in there. I'm sorry. But no, he makes a good point. There's something deeper in behavior that's very different, and that's a hurdle, which is just Americans don't go to like stop by a local pub anymore, local just gathering spot. Just the workday ends, I'm just gonna stop by, get a little drink, say hi to the local dentist, banker, blah blah blah. Like that behavior doesn't actually happen as it does in Europe, apparently, right? Cheers, yeah.
Cheers closed. The
Yeah,
bar.
Basically, yeah.
And that, what's kind of sad about that, it's funny, here in this little town of Trumal, we have the fabulous Cafe Vess, where I usually take my lunches. And they have the same cast of characters every day, who always come in. And then it changes. If you go later in the day, there are different people. They're like different shifts of people who come in. And since I usually go in for lunch, I know the lunch crowd.
Yeah.
Same people every day, pretty much. And it's pleasant, Similarly, this time of year, there's a thing they've got in Austria and elsewhere in Central Europe called the Heuriger. And Heuriger are basically private family-owned bars that spring up when they have wine to sell, usually their own, and they serve food. And that they're in business when they've got what's called a Heurigenbuschen, which is a sort of wreath with lights and so on. That is the signal that the place is open. Usually be open like 3 weeks or something, a year.
Yeah.
But everybody goes to the Heuriger when it's open. And it there's a lot of that. One of the things too here is that when you go into a restaurant, not necessarily in Vienna, but the countryside, you see someone eating, you say Mahlzeit, which means mealtime, and the person answers back Mahlzeit. And you pass people on the street, you say Grüß Gott, greet God. They say Grüß Gott. And when you leave a place, everyone says Auf Wiedersehen, and you say Wiederschön. There's a sort of institutional friendliness, if you will. The people, it's not forced, but it's not really thought about either. People just do it.
Yeah.
So you might say in that way they're much more social than we are.
Yeah. And I've heard offhand a lot of different things where in Italy or France, when you get a table, it's for the night. You know what I mean? Like they're not trying to push you out. Like you're going to be hanging out there, the whole night. That's the understanding, right? Whereas like with, you go to Applebee's or something where in, America, they're, trying to push you out and they like, we need some turnover here. We need new customers. But the last thing that I'll say, he makes an interesting point about the suburbs and creating these certain phenomenons, sort of the isolated suburban housewife, trying to quote unquote get out, teenagers, trying to fly the coop, and he's pointing to the sort of the difficulty. That it's not their fault per se. There's just the town is just not structured adequately in a way that's going to be fulfilling their needs in this sense.
No, and of course there are other things. I mean, the fact that children are raised in such an atomized fashion now.
Yeah.
I mean, in my day, you'd see, in fact, I was among them, you'd see gangs of children playing in the streets, cops and robbers or war or whatever. You never dream of seeing that today.
Yeah, my dad, obviously he was born in 1930, and he's doing the stickball thing on the streets of New York in Flushing, and all sorts of mayhem, sneaking into the World's Fair, I guess, and all sorts of.
In 1939.
Yeah.
Your dad snuck into the World's Fair in 1939.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Flushing Meadows.
That's right. But so if anybody has sort of inside information of someone taking a shot at some development, some Catholic development where perhaps you're centering around a church and maybe local businesses and trying to do it right, please let us know in comments, because I personally am super interested in that. So please share that. Absolutely. Okay. Oh, also buy the book on the bookstore if you want to know more about the book. I think it's like maybe $15-20, but tremendous buy. It's over 300 pages. The Great Good Place. I'm loving it right now. I'm absolutely loving it. All right. Wow, we've hardly gotten started on this episode. All right. What do we've got? We've got memes of production.
Nationalize the memes of production
for the common good. All right. So Don from Florida, by way of the Bronx, says, I'm picturing Charles as a time traveler akin to a Yankee in King Arthur's court, but rather eating a Callahan's hot dog in the corner of Charlemagne's court, then eating a chow mein sandwich in the court of King St. Louis, and finally sharing the culinary delights of aspic with the court of King Henry V. Wow.
I am sure that all three courts would have been wildly improved by those additions to their diets.
Absolutely.
Everybody's happier with chow mein sandwiches.
Are they, though?
I'll bet if they served chow mein sandwiches, a certain prominent Italian restaurant would not have to use hallucinogenic mushrooms in their food.
All right. We don't go there, Charles. We don't go there. All right. Don.
I'm just saying, if they had delicious chow mein sandwiches, they would not need hallucinogenic mushrooms in the rigatoni. That's all I'm saying.
Which they don't do, anyway. So.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Why would they?
Why would they? Yeah. So let's satisfy the legal department of Tumbler House, Charles. We're not going to say that certain establishments put drugs in their food to enhance them. We're not going to say that. All right.
We're not saying that, and we have no proof of it.
None.
It's highly unlikely it could ever happen, and you heard it here first.
All right. Don from Florida, by way of the Bronx, has more to say. He says, coq au vin is my favorite French dish. It's also featured in a scene from one of my favorite mafia movies, Donnie Brasco, when Al Pacino's character is making it for Johnny Depp's character on Christmas Day. That being said, like most things, it pales in comparison to the best Italian dishes. Wow. And then Jonathan P., another Paisan, jumps in and says, sounds like good old chicken marsala with extra steps and a fancy French name. There, I said it. And Don replies, indeed, the French complicate things that should be easy, whereas the Italians simplify things once thought complicated. Ooh.
That's not always a good thing. If you don't believe me, look at Mussolini. He eliminated some steps.
Wow, is that what we're gonna do? So, like, anything French? Well, it's not always a good thing. Look at Hitler. Is that what we're gonna do? We're just gonna like.
Hitler wasn't French.
I know, but you're just like, I extracting perhaps like the worst element of a culture and saying, well, it's not always a good thing. Sometimes it turns out like this.
Yeah, exactly. You start by leaving out the bacon the way they do in chicken marsala. You start by leaving out the lardons, as we would call them, and you end up with Mussolini. Everybody knows that. I mean, it would be like making if you made a chow mein sandwich and left out the buns, you'd end up with Mao Zedong.
I don't even know what to say to that. I definitely don't want to eat Mao Zedong.
No, I wouldn't want to eat Mao Zedong or any other kind of tongue, Frank. I'm not really partial. I've eaten tongue. I can do without it. But Mao Zedong.
Yeah.
I mean, for one thing, how many mice did you have to catch?
All right.
I mean, their tongues are very small. So to have mice tongue, it would be, you have to catch a lot of mice.
All right, a couple more things I will I'll go over. So I actually polled.
Did we do the state? Did we do the state of the month?
It's coming.
The state of the week.
It's coming. It's coming.
It's coming.
Just
okay.
A couple more things.
All right.
I did a poll. I polled everybody and asked, does the Holy Roman Empire still exist, albeit in an ethereal form? And amazingly, 65% said yes, awaiting its renewal. And only 35% said no, stop LARPing. So that's, I thought we were going to get crushed on that one. Are you surprised, Charles, that 65% of people are awaiting the renewal of the Holy Roman Empire, at least on Catholic Twitter?
I'm not surprised at all. And for you poor 35%, who's LARPing now?
Yeah.
I mean, if majorities are anything to go by. But that's only in politics, not cuisine.
One other thing I'll go over very briefly to sort of not be too harsh on you, Charles. I simply asked yesterday what type of food is better. And right now, 81% say Italian food, 19% say French food. So it's kind of eliminates.
I guess a lot of people can't. A lot of people. No, as I say, it doesn't go to cuisine. Plus, a lot of people can't afford French food, and their idea of Italian food might be, boiled dry spaghetti with ragu spaghetti sauce.
Yeah, Sasha.
They don't know any better. I mean, it's like people who go to Olive Garden and think it's Italian.
Yeah, Sasha says, I guess 80% of people never had a chance to try French food. Laugh out loud. Okay, so I guess that's your position.
I agree.
Have
you been to the Olive Garden?
No. But, I kind of like Christus Vinci's.
Your brother won't go.
I like Christus Vinci's response. He says, ask your average American to name a single French food besides a baguette. That should answer your question.
Well, we know that most Americans are ignorant about most things. That's not a shock. They don't know their own history or geography. How could you expect them to know anything French?
Look at Charles. In the words of your father, the the cream floats to the top.
Yeah.
Okay, the best of the best goes to the top.
Say the cream. He said the scum flows to the top. He says life is like soup. Scum rises to the top.
I didn't interpret it that way.
Oh, you tried to reinterpret it. Oh, I like that. No, he said life is like soup. Scum rises to the top.
All right. Well, anyhow.
So you've got non-scummy people who can't afford to. Is that what you're saying? That if you can afford French food, you're scum? That's nice. Ted would not tell you.
All right. Well, anyhow,
He was French.
the poll is still active. It's still active for a whole nother day. For you patrons who are getting this early, feel free to vote, especially you French ones, because you guys really need the help on this one. So,
Well, indeed. And those of you who haven't had French food, before you vote, rush out, find yourself a decent French restaurant, and prepare for a little bit of heaven on earth. Or if you can't do that, if you're you can't afford it, that's fine. Or you live in one of the most innumerable communities where there are no French restaurants, not to worry. There are still a lot of Julia Child episodes on the computer, like not Tumblr House, the YouTube. You can find a whole lot of her, and she makes French food sound delectable, even if you've got nothing to eat.
yes, she does.
Save the liver.
I don't eat liver.
No, but you should save it.
I will.
That's what she said when Dan Aykroyd was portraying her and cuts himself up and is bleeding out. He shrieks, "Save the liver." She actually enjoyed that skit, of Dan Aykroyd imitating her, and she would show it to friends.
All right, very good.
Would you like to know any more trivia about her? She was from Pasadena originally.
No, let us move to the state of the week.
Okay, so we don't talk about Pasadena.
No.
All right.
All right, state of the week is Arkansas.
Are you sure we haven't done Arkansas?
I have an Excel sheet, and Arkansas was not on it.
Okay, well, I have only spent a short amount of time in Arkansas, mostly driving across, but don't let that stop you. I can tell you a few things about Arkansas. One is that the state capital is Little Rock, home of Lorelei Lee in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Just two little girls from Little Rock. It is, I say, the state capital. The state capitol building is lovely. The Catholic Cathedral is beautiful. Even the Episcopal Cathedral is worth seeing. And the State Museum is there. But to me, the three most interesting places in Arkansas are, well, all right, the four. There's Tontitown, which was settled by Italians and has a beautiful church. Subiaco, which was settled by Catholic Germans and has a Benedictine monastery. Arkansas Post, which is a state park, but it's the location of the oldest French settlement in Arkansas. And lastly but not least, the oldest and most venerable town that's a real town in Arkansas, Pine Bluff, which has a beautiful Catholic church and bits and pieces and remnants of its French and Spanish colonial history. There's also, of course, the Bill Clinton Library, which you can stop by. I think you've got to get, if you go there, you've got to get some shots afterwards.
Like shots?
No, shots. Shots.
Okay.
You don't know what you might pick up there, so
Yeah.
It is Bill Clinton, but the Ozarks are beautiful. There's a lot of hunting, a lot of fishing. It's an interesting place. One of my very best friends in all the world comes from a little town in northeastern Arkansas called Marktree, M-A-R-K-E-D, Marked Tree, T-R-E-E, spelled Marktree, near the bustling metropoli of Lepanto and Tyronza.
All right.
You sound unimpressed.
I'm impressed. I'm sorry, I've always wanted to visit Arkansas.
You don't like Tyronza.
You're projecting.
You do like Tyronza.
All right. If you're done, if you're just inserting filler because you have nothing left to say about Arkansas, then don't put that on me.
There is one more thing I can say about Arkansas.
What?
And that is that my friend from Monarchy tortured me for years with the so-called secret of Arkansas.
Okay.
And he would never tell me what it was. So finally one day I got him to break down and tell me. He said, okay, I'll tell you. Draw a map of Arkansas. So I drew an outline map of Arkansas. He says, now tilt it. This was on the phone. I tilted it. He said, don't that look like an arrowhead?
Does it? What? Okay.
Yeah, it does. If you draw a map of Arkansas and you tilt it, it looks like an arrowhead.
Wow.
That's the secret of Arkansas, which you now know.
Okay, I guess I can see that. Yeah, because it's
tortured me with that for years.
All right.
You think I deserved it, don't you?
I feel a little reciprocity couldn't hurt.
Reciprocity?
Yeah.
You mean being tortured like this for years was a reciprocity for what?
No, not being tortured, being helped, increasing your curiosity. This kind of stuff builds character.
You sound vaguely like someone I know, but I can't put my finger on who. It's obviously some annoying person.
A bullseye.
It's obviously somebody who really, really would drive one up a wall.
Yep, I'll say. All right.
Pieces of eight. Ah! That was Long John Silver's parrot.
Yeah.
Feel better?
Yeah, I do feel better. I really like Long John and Parrot. And I don't know why they haven't done a Long John Silver sort of like Treasure Island remake or something. That character is so epic. It sort of got lost in the sands of time somehow.
He's Eurocentric.
I guess so.
They'd have to make him a gay person of color.
Yeah, I'm glad they haven't remade him because it would suck, but it's just surprising in this age of remaking everything that they haven't done that.
Well, it would be too hard to put pirates through. It would be too hard to put pirates through the veil of wokery. Yeah. I mean, what are you going to say? They were oppressed people who were lashing out at the man.
Yeah,
that's just not going to work.
Well, they're
even
still
for woke.
I mean, they're still doing the Pirates of the Caribbean. They're finding a way to. I don't know. Anyhow, all right. Before the questions, I'm obligated to do another channel identification. Off the Menu is now being broadcast and podcast on the Crusade channel. Talk radio the way it should be at crusadechannel.com. All right.
Where's that?
crusadechannel.com. Yeah. All right. All right. Question from April, who says, "See, we do get to decorate for Lent. Boxwood is evergreen, a subdued but pleasant-looking shrub, and I really enjoy the smell, although others don't. Did anyone else see the Catholic mom accounts hating on Lent decorations on Twitter? I'm not suggesting we raise up felt banners or whatnot, but some greenery that is nice but modest, or some bare grapevine wreaths that remind one of the crown of thorns, I see nothing wrong with it." Charles?
Well, again, I have to resort to Robert Herrick, and his Ceremonies upon Candlemas Eve, who speaks about box. It says, this is Ceremonies for Candlemas Eve, Robert Herrick. "Down with the rosemary and bays, down with the mistletoe. Instead of holly, now upraise the greener box for show. The holly hitherto did sway, let box now domineer, until the dancing Easter day or Easter Eves appear. Then youthful box, which now hath grace your houses to renew, grown old, surrender must his place unto the crisped yew. When yew is out, then birch comes in, and many flowers beside, both of a fresh and fragrant kin, to honor Whitsuntide, say in the summer. Green rushes then, and sweetest bents, with cooler oaken boughs, come in for comely ornaments to readorn the house. Thus times do shift, each thing his turn does hold. New things succeed as former things grow old. So box was a preferred decoration in the 17th century and before for Lent. And you're right, some people don't like the smell. Queen Anne didn't like it. She had the hedges taken down at Hampton Court Palace because she didn't like the smell. But some people do, some people don't. And we have a saying in Latin, de gustibus non est disputandum. In matters of taste, there is no dispute. So, if you can convince the people around you that they like the smell of box, then by all means, decorate your house with it. And then you can use Herrick as a guide with what to replace it with, yew and then birch, etc., as the spring and the summer progress.
Do you do any Lenten decorations? Do you have any preferences? Do you have any recommendations in this area?
Other than box? Not really. I mean, you could put up purple felt banners if you liked. I don't. I don't really do much of anything except, as I say, back home. If I could get a small box, I would use that. But box was seen as being particularly, because of its odor, was seen as being particularly appropriate for Lent. Some people like it, some people don't. And those who didn't like it took it as a penance.
Okay. All right. A question from Michael, who says, "Greeting Don Vincenzo and your consigliere Charles Chucky Coulombe. Ooh. I'm currently reading Blessed Charles of Austria, 5 chapters in, and I think it's great. The first 2 chapters read like a condensed history of Europe. Available on Tumblr House bookstore. I think it's $27. Hardcover. Amazing book. I've read it myself. Highly recommend.
I wrote it. I feel good about myself.
It's inspiring a lot of people. It's inspiring. Don't miss out. Be the first on your block. All right. But Michael says, I have a question regarding the Italian monarchy. In the 1946 referendum, the areas in strongest opposition to the Republic was the Mezzogiorno, southern Italy. The most pro-Republican area was the north. This is in spite of the House of Savoy being northern Italian and the Two Sicilies being the last of the old Italian states to fall to Garibaldi. Are there any other examples where a region or group of people who were once the adversaries of a royal house later became its most ardent supporters?
Well, one that jumps out at me are the Scottish Highlanders who were settled. They were Jacobites, and then they were sent to North Carolina to settle the frontier, and they became ardent advocates of King George III and were loyalists in the Revolution. So that kind of jumps out at me. It's interesting also that in addition to the former kingdom of the Two Sicilies, Piemonte, which had been the center of the House of Savoy in the north, also voted for them. The votes in the rest of the country were somewhat assisted, helped.
Wait, what are you saying?
It was a rigged plebiscite. But at least it was done with the help of the American occupation authorities, so I guess it was okay.
Has anyone publicly admitted that?
No, but it's pretty well known. People who were there at the time have reported it. The various things. What's his name? Gare was with the British occupation army. Gare was his surname. Let me see. Was it Robert Gare? Yeah, it was Robert Gere. He served with the British Expeditionary Force in France in 1939. He was advisor to the Allied military government of Italy, based in Palermo, where he fought for the exclusion of left-wing textbooks and communist influence of the Italian education system. He was thereafter director to the Allied Control Commission for Italy, based in Naples, the chief of education and religious affairs, German planning unit, Supreme Headquarters, Allied Expeditionary Force. He wrote Italy in Transition, extracts of the private journal of G.R. Gere, and he also wrote a book on the House of Savoy and the defeat in the election, which I read years ago. And he comes up with some pretty damning evidence, actually.
All right. Are we free to move on?
Well, freedom is such an abstract thing. I mean, what do we really mean by it anyway? I'm just asking.
That's interesting.
See, right. Freedom isn't free. Freedom isn't free. You got to pay the price. You got to sacrifice for your liberty.
Okay. Wow. All right. So Michael says, finally, I greatly appreciate your prayers for reconciliation between my ex-girlfriend and I. Valentine's Day is soon upon us, and I will be going forward with another set of armor. Thanks to you. Great to hear, Michael. Good luck.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Yep. Good luck. Good luck.
All right. Question from Patrick, who says, greetings to the eminent Don Vincenzo and the eloquent Charles Coulombe. I have a question regarding the Anglican Ordinariate. It is obviously a very good thing that so many of these former Anglicans are back in communion with the true church, and I am glad they are able to do so while retaining the sense of their liturgical heritage. However, being familiar with the liturgical reforms of Archbishop Cranmer in England, not too dissimilar from the frog in boiling water strategy used by the liturgical modernists in the Roman Rite to gradually erode the Latin Mass beginning even before Vatican II, I am wondering if Mr. Coulombe, being that he is familiar with this group, does he believe that there will be some sort of move back in the direction of the liturgies as they existed in England prior to the reforms of Cranmer, perhaps with the reintroduction of the Tridentine Mass and various Sarum usages? Is this something people discuss in ordinariate circles? Judging by my name, I'm sure you can tell I'm not one of them myself. Okay.
Well, despite being a cradle Catholic, I am one of the very few cradle Catholic members of the Ordinariate. So, yeah, I do know a thing or two about them. The question of reviving the Sarum Rite is something that people do talk about quite a bit. But obviously, in this pontificate, it's not something that's going to happen. We'll see what the future holds.
Okay.
Right now, it's a question of just trying to get the word out, as it were. Interestingly enough, the Ordinariates version of the Mass includes a very strong offertory, which you may remember was one of the criticisms that the then Cardinal Ratzinger had of the new Mass, was that they'd gotten rid of a decent offertory.
So what about, do you believe that there will be some sort of move back to the direction of liturgies as existed prior to the reforms of Cranmer?
I think that if the Holy See becomes really interested in evangelization, especially the Anglosphere, then I would think that something along those lines will probably happen.
So I don't understand the nature of how these other rites change. and the approval process for that. For example, if they wanted to change the Byzantine rite at all or tweak it, does that have to go through the Vatican or something? And same with the Ordinariates. What's the hierarchy here?
Well, they're different. The Ordinariates are part of the Latin Rite, so they have to go through the dicastery or divine worship, whatever it's called now. But with the Byzantines, and as with the other sui juris churches, as we say, the Maronites, the Melchites, and so forth, they all have to go through the Congregation for Eastern Churches, or the dicastery for Eastern Churches now.
Okay. So what's a dicastery?
It's all of the offices, congregations, commissions, etc., have all been renamed dicasteries. So it's a department of the Curia.
I see. Right.
Grinder.
What did you say?
Grinder.
We don't do that here. We'll leave. Well, actually, I guess you're on that continent where all that grinder stuff is happening. But here in America, we keep it.
You can't say that with a straight face. Don't kid her. Don't kid her.
Oh man.
However, to the best of my knowledge, despite all the changes in the Holy See, Grinder has not been given an official position. There's not a Grinder dicastery or anything like that.
Good.
Is that reassuring?
Very well. I don't know. I just don't know anymore. All right.
85 Grinder accounts in the Vatican. I'm not saying that's bad. I don't judge.
All right, a question from Angela who says, Dear Vincent and Charles, thanks for all the fun and merriment over the last couple of weeks.
We do our best.
Yeah. If Charles needs a break from fluffy bunnies, he can always check out Cottagecore Cat, which features art and merchandise depicting cute kittens sitting under mushrooms or frolicking in meadows.
That sounds about my speed these days. You know, things are so cray-cray. I think, actually, I'd flock under the mushrooms with them, unless they were in somebody's rigatoni.
What are you trying to say?
No, you know, sometimes kittens play under mushrooms that are somehow gigantic. And, well, that kind of mushroom sometimes ends up in rigatoni.
Oh, okay.
And then it's hallucinogenic. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with hallucinogenic mushrooms in rigatoni. Not that any business we know would ever do that. In fact, I find it extremely unlikely that any restaurant either you or I frequent put hallucinogenic mushrooms into their rigatoni or any other dish.
I wonder what would happen.
I had cream of mushroom soup.
You know what you should do? I feel like that this is almost a Charles tactic where you know how you like to play with people and make them like just have this awkward candid camera look on their face and just want to curl up in a ball.
I don't understand what you're saying.
I can totally see you going to an Italian restaurant and straight up point blank asking for the special mushrooms on your rigatoni.
you know what I mean.
I can see the waitress's discomfort and just like, I don't know what to say to this crazy man.
Well, you know, you'd have to be careful the way you did it, though. You'd have to be like, ma'am, I'd like rigatoni with the mushrooms, but could I have the special mushrooms? What, sir? You know, the ones you don't usually serve, the special ones. You know, the ones that help. What are you talking about, sir? Well, you know, everyone knows that this is the place to come if you want to have some, you know, magical mushrooms in your rigatoni. That's if you could serve me those, not the little brown ones from the can. You know the ones I mean. Those I want those. I think she'd appreciate it.
I can see it exactly, because I've seen these reactions where it's like, well, there's nowhere to go, so I have to kind of do this really fake nervous laugh and kind of brush you off. But then the whole encounter feels super awkward. Ladies and gentlemen,
the best part is when the rigatoni comes, I take a bite. Oh, ma'am, this is exactly right. Thank you. Yeah. Wow. I've never realized how beautiful this restaurant is before. It's just lovely. It shimmers. The walls have gills. I think that would impress her a lot.
All right. Anyway,
you don't believe in impressing the help? Oh, I see. So the help should be condemned to boring lives of nothing going on. That's what you're saying.
The help are there to serve us. We aren't there to impress the help. You've got things backwards.
They're to entertain them. Surely.
I'm the ruler. I'm the owner. You just do my bidding, servant.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
I would check my rigatoni for mushrooms if I were you. There are ways to resist that kind of dominance.
Well, that's very true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. See, gotta be careful. Don't annoy the wrong people, or you'll find yourself spazzing out over your rigatoni. Convinced that the place is shimmering. Walls have. Have you ever heard anything of that the same? It's ridiculous.
Sounds like something that came out of the 60s.
What? Walls with gills?
Yeah, some sort of imagery. That imagery.
Well, I have to admit, it probably did. But I mean, think, if you will, imagine, if you will, blacklight posters illuminated by lava lamps.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. Yes.
And you're eating rigatoni with mushrooms.
Okay.
And you find yourself wondering how you got into this position anyway.
That's for sure.
For one thing, in 2023, who puts blacklight posters on their walls?
That's true.
Oh, wait a minute. You're going to tell me there's an aesthetic.
All right, Charles, we have to move on. You're dragging your feet. Angela's been waiting for her question to ask, and you're being disrespectful.
Just answer me one question. Is there blacklight core?
No, absolutely not. There is no blacklight core. This
is not an aesthetic that's on TikTok or something.
No, it's not an aesthetic that's on TikTok or this music video television or all these newfangled things.
Are we sure?
No. I'm sure.
All right.
All right.
If you tell me there's no blacklight core, I believe you.
All right. There's no blacklight core.
But if any of our viewers or listeners are aware of this aesthetic, see, this is where I'm trying to get us ahead of the curve. We were blindsided by dark academia.
That's true.
So what if we turn it around on them? What if we predict the rise of blacklight core? Yeah, and if you're not into blacklight core, you're just not hip. You're not what's happening. You're not what's now. You're not what's, cutting edge. What's next wave? What's outside the envelope? Blacklight core. Think about it.
Charles, I just don't have, I feel like I have a lot of self-confidence, but I don't have enough self-confidence to be able to turn something from cringe into cool.
Well, if you ever do, you will own the world. You will have the whole bloody planet in the palm of your hand. And in the name of International Solidarity Day, you'll be able to make them all go into Blacklight Corps at your bidding. You'll have total control. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to this. See, this is what you were being groomed for, was control of the world's aesthetic. This is, the man and the moment may have met. You could have right now TikTok, Instagram, Tumblr, not Tumblr. What's the other one?
Yeah.
There are a lot of these.
It's kind of dying out, though.
Because of the T.
Yeah, Tumblr.
What's that?
Or TUMBLR. But I thought it was Tumblr. Dying out. Yeah.
Well, whatever. Even MySpace. You can control them all with this new aesthetic you've invented.
All right. That's honestly true, right? Like, if you can turn cringe into cool, you can do anything. Like, the world is your oyster.
Absolutely. And you can crack it open and pull out the pearl. And then slurp it down off the half shell. I'm telling you.
All right.
You got gold here. Lifestyle gold. The aftermath of the COVID lockdown may end up being your pathway to happiness.
Could be. All right.
You never know.
As fun as that is, let us move on to Angela's question. She says,
right.
Charles, if you'd be so kind as to respond, her first question, what has Charles been hiding from us about the Vatican secret archives? When was he going to tell us about Leo X's elephant? What?
Never. My lips were sealed. I wasn't saying nothing about Leo X's elephant, and the whole point of secret archives is that they're secret.
So Leo X had an elephant? I don't understand.
It was a gift. Charlemagne had an elephant. It was also a gift. I mean, Eastern potentates who were attempting to impress the Westerners would often send them, elephants. Usually these are the elephants in the room. Get it? The elephants in the room. Anyway, its name was Hanno, and it was given by the King of Portugal to Leo X. It was, you remember the Portuguese in the 1500s were going down the west coast of Africa, and they went all the way to India. So I forget if it was Africa or India, but in one of those places, the Portuguese got an elephant. They brought it back to the king, and the king sent it to Leo X as a gift.
Wow, that's a pretty cool factoid. Is there anything else in the Vatican secret archives that is worth noting?
Lots of stuff. But it's all a secret.
Oh, okay.
Actually, that's not really true. You can go to the website of the Vatican Secret Archives and find out precisely what they have. And except for stuff that's been generated in the past 50 years, it's all open.
Really? What are you? Yep. Are you joking?
No.
Vatican Secret
Archives.com. Let me see if I can get you the address. It's actually quite a fascinating site. Let me see.
The Papal Archives, the Vatican Secret, the Vatican Apostolic Archive?
That's the one. Formerly known as the Vatican's Secret Archive. L'Archivio dei Papi. And it's, you can get the English version. And the archives, it's really amazing stuff. They've got a great, they really have a great website. And I can't recommend it. I can't recommend it to you more highly.
It's interesting. So Pope Francis announced that materials relating to Pope Pius XII would be open on March 2nd, 2020, stating that Pius's legacy had been debated and even criticized, but the Church is not afraid of history.
No.
Yeah, so that's good. Cool. It seems like there's a lot to
Yeah,
dive into there. But
there is.
anyhow,
It's a wonderful website. So now you know.
yeah, thank you. All right, final question for today. From Angela. She says, "What can Charles tell us about the mysterious, elusive sacramental known as the Agnus Dei? Has he ever seen one, or does he know of anyone alive today who owns one?"
I have. I've seen one. They were little. They're blessed, I think, on the Feast of St. Agnes. Let me make sure I know what I'm talking about. They used to be blessed at intervals, but it's been a while, I think, since any pope has made them. They were made of wax, and they bore the sheep and flag, the lamb and flag, the Agnus Dei on it.
Well, what did you say it was? A pin?
No, it was a sort of a circlet of wax, a little wax thing, and it was it's a disc, about yay big. Um, but uh, the it used to be done on it used to be done at intervals by a pope. And let me see. Yeah, it was only during the first year of the pontificate, and again every 7 years. But I don't think that they've been done since Paul VI. It used to be, I mean, when Elizabeth made it illegal to own them, and they would be, let me see, yeah, it says, on Holy Saturday, the Pope, with the assistance of the Archdeacon of Rome, prepared the wax of the previous year's Paschal candles. They were consecrated on the Wednesday of Easter week and distributed on Saturday of the same week. In more recent times, the wax was prepared by monks, dipped in water mixed with chrism after being formed, and then consecrated by the Pope and distributed. But it was done in the first year of the episcopate of the papacy, and then every 7 years after. And they foster piety, banish tepidity, preserve from vice, and dispose to virtue. They counsel venial sins, purify from the stain left by grievous sin after it has been remitted in the sacrament of penance. They banish evil spirits, deliver from temptation, and preserve from eternal ruin. They are a protection from a sudden and unprovided death. They dispel fears occasioned by evil spirits. They are protection in combat and have power to ensure victory. They deliver from poison and from the snares of the wicked. They are excellent preventatives against sickness and also an efficacious remedy, especially in cases of epilepsy. They hinder the ravages of pestilence, of epidemics, and infectious diseases. They quiet the winds, dissipate hurricanes, calm whirlwinds, and keep away tempests. They save from shipwreck and the danger of lightning and floods. So they're very, very rare now.
Wow. It's interesting. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Off the Menu. Charles and I will see you here on YouTube next week and all week long on our radio broadcasting and podcasting partners, the Crusade Channel Talk Radio the way it should be at crusadechannel.com.
Yeah, but you know what Crusade Channel doesn't have?
What?
Blacklight core.
Or hallucinogenic mushrooms.
No.
Yeah.
You know, if you are going to have hallucinogenic mushrooms, which I very much urge you not to, look at them under blacklight posters with lava lamps. But don't use them. Don't use them. Especially don't use them in rigatoni. It spoils the flavor.
I bet. All right, Charles. Wait, I have a question for you. What is it if it's Monday?
Don't help me. It's off the menu.
What about the soul you save?
It may very well be your own. Be careful, ladies and gentlemen. Take care. Happy International Solidarity Day and Lincoln's birthday.